Hey, it's Janelle Waz, and welcome back to another episode of Treknalysis. Guys, we have to talk about Troi's questionable judgment. We need to discuss her poor taste in men, her refusal to see red flags right in front of her, and how easily she can be manipulated. I am, of course, talking about the Next Gen Season 3 episode, The Price. While it's technically the B-plot, The Price is one of those episodes that features a one-off romance with one of the main characters. In this case, Deanna Troi with a visiting negotiator. And oh boy, is this episode a doozy. I know Troi isn't the best written character in the show, losing out on a lot of character development, but she's written to be particularly oblivious in this episode. There's only one counselor on board?
So I'm going to talk to Picard about it.
You're becoming counselor?
Let's go ahead and watch Troi's terrible judgment, shall we? This is The Price.
It's yours. For the right price.
But before I go any further, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I talk a lot about Star Trek, video games, and whatever else I feel like talking about. Be great to have you aboard. It's been a day for Deanna Troi, and it's about to get worse.
3 communiques from your mother.
Oh, you're in trouble now, Deanna. Always pick up the phone for your mom.
My mother, so treat her right, treat her right.
In fact, Deanna knows she's in for it, so she orders herself a special treat from the replicator.
I would like real chocolate ice cream.
This unit is programmed to provide sources of acceptable nutritional value.
Even your own computer program turns against you.
But listen, you don't deny a woman her chocolate, especially during a tough day.
Picard to Counselor Troi.
It is not Deanna's day.
Do you need a pampering?
So Picard wants Deanna to show up to a last-minute reception to welcome some delegates, which is technically the A-plot. Basically, the Barzan, these people here, found a wormhole that they're putting up for sale. It's the first and only stable wormhole in existence, and it leads to the Gamma Quadrant. Gee, where have I heard that one before? Yep, before Ben Sisko and Jadzia Dax discovered the Bajoran wormhole, there was another stable wormhole that also led to the Gamma Quadrant. There are a couple of people bidding for this wormhole. The Federation, the Caledonians, or Weird Forehead Alien number 5, and the Chrysalians. So this is a somewhat important function, despite it being a last-minute thing. Deanna, of course, tries to get out of it, but to no avail.
Captain, I'm not really dressed for a reception.
Oh, Counselor, just throw on any old thing.
God forbid I should miss my first look at the wormhole.
Troi begrudgingly goes to the reception on Riker's arm and meets the Barzan Chancellor, the Federation negotiator, Mendoza, the Caledonian negotiator,
Madame?
and the Chrysalian negotiator, Lloyd Braun,
Another sale, Mr. Costanza. Chalk me up on the big board.
who uncomfortably stares at Troi as the scene fades out for the show's intro. The negotiations take off, but the Ferengi got wind of it, and they're super offended that no one invited them, and they demand a seat at the table. And chairs.
We'll need chairs. And see to it we get some chairs.
Let me explain.
Fine. Just have your Klingon servant get us some chairs. Who gets the chairs?
Picard excuses himself, exasperated because he's dealing with next-gen Ferengi and not DS9 Ferengi. The Ferengi lay their offer down on the table. They'll match the best offer and throw in the gold on top of it. Which in the Star Trek universe is completely worthless.
There's nothing here but worthless gold.
Meanwhile, Troi's looking at Lloyd Braun's Facebook page. Okay, his actual name is Matt McCoy.
I mean, it's just better savings, it's better service, it is better everything.
Alright, in Star Trek, it's Devinoni Ral.
I was just looking over some personnel files.
Was that before or after you liked his post from 3 years ago? So let's consider that Ral has probably known Deanna for, what, 2 hours? And in those 2 hours, he sent his lady friend home, asked Deanna out, starts telling Deanna not to do her counselor act?
Don't do Counselor Troi.
Invading Deanna's personal space? Caressing her arm? Oh, hell no! Okay, as a lady, I feel I bring a particularly unique perspective to the table on this. I'm a little camera shy, but I have long hair. Now, it's not super difficult to take care of, but if I want to style it, usually by straightening it, it takes some time to do a good job. Deanna, at the very least, puts her hair up and forms it into a nice little poof, securing it with a decorative clip, which can take some time and a couple of attempts to get it to look nice. And this bozo just screwed it up!
I just want to make people happy.
Heck, not even that. He's a strange guy running his probably dirty fingers through her clean hair. No, you don't know this woman, and you're taking a bunch of liberties here that would piss off most women. Women don't like strange men screwing up their hair. Hands to yourself, mister!
Just keep your hands to yourself, turkey!
Can we also talk about how Ral definitely has a type?
How about tonight?
Wine and skip old age?
Okay, where was I? So Riker doesn't trust Ral at all, and to be honest, that's a pretty logical conclusion to reach. And meanwhile, Deanna is intrigued by him?
Oh, that Lloyd Braun, he is something, isn't he?
And even invites him to her quarters for a date? Although, good call on the hairstyle, you don't need him screwing up your hair twice in the same day. So it's barely 2 minutes into this date, and Ral plants a kiss on Deanna, drinks booze with her, has a makeout sesh, and Deanna ignores the sage advice of one Crow T robot.
Don't go to bed with wet hair.
Or a first date.
Now, if you're thinking that this is moving awfully fast, even for TV, congratulations, you're completely sane. Heck, even Deanna admits she's moving too fast. Ral, however, is the one that pushes things to warp 10. If this was Voyager, they would have lizard babies by now.
We'll be late for dinner.
Very late.
Meanwhile, Mendoza has been, wait for it, poisoned by the Ferengi.
Mendoza!
Don't worry though, he'll live. It's more like a bad allergic reaction, but this results in Riker taking over the negotiations. And clearly he and Ral hate each other.
Why can't you be more like Lloyd Braun?
Either that or Ral tried to sell him an AARP plan.
Imagine you get a letter from your car insurance company notifying you that you've just been dropped. It happens.
Meanwhile, oh come on, Deanna!
3 days. You were only there for 3 days and you couldn't restrain yourself.
Heck, she's probably only known him for 2 days! Yeah, this scene is super cringy to watch because we already know what a scumbag Ral is. It's like watching a train wreck about to happen. Deanna, what the hell are you doing? And it's very apparent that Ral is manipulating her the entire time, and Troi is completely oblivious to it. For one thing, she can't sense anything about Ral because her humanness must be blocking it out. Which is absolute bullshit because I'm human and even I can tell you this guy is a sleaze. And then anytime she tries to ask Ral about himself, he throws the conversation back at her, even bringing up Riker in all this. But then, Ral lets out one piece of information. He's actually a quarter betazoid and empathic, so he can sense emotions like Deanna. But even that he uses to manipulate her. We're empathic, so we're isolated from everyone. I tucked away my heart at the negotiation table, but I didn't realize how much I needed it until I met you. What a bull artist. He's clearly working her, and she falls for it hook, line, and sinker. But in all seriousness, maybe this is a fatal flaw for Deanna that's rarely explored in the show outside of 1 or 2 episodes. She relies so heavily on her betazoid senses that her basic human common sense is practically non-existent. And yeah, I know emotions are a thing and can be manipulated in humans too, but come on, we all have to learn how to recognize red flags. Or else we end up like Deanna and dating a sleaze. Meanwhile, Geordi and Data in a shuttle and a couple of Ferengi in their shuttle are giving the wormhole a little test drive. It's a bumpy ride, but they make it through to the other side in the Delta Quadrant. It turns out that while the entrance of the wormhole is stable at the moment in the Alpha Quadrant, the other side actually changes position, meaning the wormhole isn't stable at all. They decide to get the hell out of there, trying to convince the Ferengi to go with them, but the Ferengi don't believe them and refuse to budge. Geordi and Data leave through the wormhole, taking one episode to do what Voyager did in 7 seasons. The Ferengi, on the other hand, end up in an episode of Star Trek Voyager.
Who are you?
Captain Catherine Janeway of the Federation starship Voyager.
Now, this video is about questionable decisions, specifically Troi's questionable decisions. Her relationship with Ral is a big one. The other is her workout outfit. So Deanna and Beverly have a little girl talk about Ral. Troi acknowledges she feels out of control, the whole thing isn't rational, and Beverly recalls the time she had a similar whirlwind fling that lasted a week, and that when she met Jack, her eventual husband, it took her months to figure it out. Deanna considers slowing down, maybe gaining a little control of the situation, perhaps the only rational thing she's done the entire episode. Now, I have been critical of Troi this entire video. But Beverly, what the hell are you doing? Troi is in a potentially dangerous situation. Heck, I'd argue it's already dangerous. She barely knows this guy. She's super attached to him. And she's clearly not thinking straight, even by her own admission. And you're encouraging this? What kind of friend are you if you see your friend in a dangerous situation that can't end well and you don't even advise her to get out of it? Even a simple, Deanna, it's your life, but you really should think about this, would have sufficed. And where the hell is Guinan?
You'd make a good counselor.
I think so too.
Meanwhile, Ral's working 10 forward, hanging around the Caledonian negotiator. Alone. Who then suddenly drops out of the running. Yeah, it's clear Ral's not only manipulating Troi, but everyone involved in the wormhole negotiations, using his empathic skills as an advantage no one else has, or even knows that he has. A bit unethical, wouldn't you say?
Because they don't have ethics?
Ral and Troi are having a casual dinner, in pajama wear. When Troi points out that he's kinda, maybe, just maybe, behaving unethically. After all, he's got an unfair advantage that no one else except Troi knows about. The fact that he can read people's emotions. Which, of course, Ral throws back at her.
He doesn't have an edge. Your edge.
Our edge.
Ral, of course, insists that it's just business.
You talk like a Ferengi.
Troi then starts questioning his motives, which is about 3 days late. You know, why haven't you told anyone you're an empath? Oh, it makes people uncomfortable.
I think you don't tell them, so you can gain an advantage.
Well, I gained an advantage by using it with you. You didn't seem to mind that.
What a piece of Ral then really turns up the gaslighting at this point. Troi points out the obvious, something she has experience with.
My instructions were clear.
They were not.
I sense a touch of hostility here, gentlemen.
That he's actually reading everyone's emotions and exploiting them for his benefit. And Ral's all, well, people have been doing that for thousands of years just by listening and watching body language.
People have been doing that for thousands of years.
Yeah, but there's a difference between being very observant like, oh, let's say Odo, you know, a skill that anyone can develop with practice, and probing someone's mind, which not everybody's physiology can accommodate.
You do it?
Dude, what?
Everything that guy just says is bullshit. Thank you.
Troi points out that she doesn't hide the fact that she's empathic and that she uses her abilities to help her crew. It's kind of a stretch there, Deanna.
There's nothing. Nothing. I sense nothing.
Oh, so you announce it to every alien culture you encounter? Or do you use it to give your side an advantage?
Guy, that's totally not the same thing, and even Troi points it out. Troi uses her skills because if an interaction with a potentially hostile ship goes south, they could all explode and die. Your negotiation goes south and you lose a buck. These are not the same.
Which one of us would you say has more of a problem with ethics?
I rest my case. You see what happens when you don't slow down with a guy you barely know, Deanna? He's not even good looking, Lloyd Braun! You got crazy, Lloyd Braun!
Serenity now. Insanity later.
So Ral bails out on an uncomfortable conversation and goes to 10 forward to rub it in Riker's face. He's eating up the competition, and it's only a matter of time before he absorbs the Federation's bid and gets Deanna.
But you just didn't do enough to keep her.
You never could compete with Lloyd Braun!
Deanna is just the woman to bring some meaning to your sorry existence, if you're smart enough to take it. I doubt that you are.
Meanwhile, the lead Ferengi, Goss, left the Enterprise and is about to fire on it because... something, the Federation manipulated their way through the negotiations and signed a secret agreement to the Wormhole. Red Alert is called during the negotiations and, oh look, Riker has to leave, leaving Ral all alone with the Barzan Chancellor. How so very convenient. Well, would you look at this? Ral comes on the bridge to defuse the situation because he won the rights to the wormhole and even offers a Ferengi passage through it. Awfully convenient, isn't it? Troi, of course, senses something amiss and has already figured out what we already knew. That she's been dating a scumbag.
In fact, I sense no tension from you or Goss.
Deanna?
We Beta Zeds are uncomfortable with species like the Ferengi, whose minds we can't read.
Are we sure Deanna didn't lie on her resume? Troi points out Ral is empathic and that he staged the entire thing to win the wormhole, and even acknowledges that she was manipulated into a conflict of interest. Just at that moment, Geordi and Data's shuttle arrives and informs everyone that the wormhole isn't stable at all. Ral just bought a worthless wormhole.
Congratulations on winning the rights to the Barzan wormhole.
And it's all yours.
The loser that he is, Ral visits Deanna one last time to explain that he had to manipulate everyone into thinking the Ferengi were going to blow up the Enterprise because the Barzan were going to go with the Federation. He claims that Troi blowing his cover made him look at himself and he doesn't like what he sees. He implores her to come with him. He needs help. She could be his conscience. He can be fixed.
I already have a job as counselor.
Yep. Troi has a better job on the Enterprise with much better hours. And that was the price. Is it a good episode? Not really, but it's kind of fun to riff on. However, it does a number on Troi. As a counselor, Troi is supposed to recognize certain behaviors so she can help her patients work through their problems. Here, she is so oblivious and easily manipulated by Ral that you really have to question her judgment, not just in her personal life, but even her professional life. Ral manipulated her so much that she couldn't even do her job to warn Picard or Riker about what he was doing. And Ral is a pretty despicable guy who lacks any kind of values.
You know, you're really not such a bad sort, Ral. Except you don't have any values.
Heck, I don't think it's uncalled for to question whether Ral had any real attraction to Troi or if she was just another cog in his machinations. Sure, nobody was physically hurt by his actions, but the fact that he didn't recognize his actions were unethical and even tried to justify them, even up to the end? Sorry, but I can't see any redeeming qualities in this guy. I do like Troi as a character and acknowledge that she wasn't very well written, but this episode did her no favors. For a season 3 episode, this is definitely a low point. But if we're going through this episode to get to better episodes, then that's the price we have to pay.
That is the price we have to continually pay.
So what do you think? What did you think of the price? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What were your thoughts on Ral and Troi's relationship? Should Troi have seen the red flags, or can she be excused for some of it? And what are some Star Trek topics you'd like to see me talk about? Please, leave comments below and discuss. As always, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Treknalysis. If you like what you see, why not give my video a like and subscribe to my channel? Tell your friends! Until next time...
Oh, that Lloyd Braun, he is something, isn't he?